Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hey everybody, Kieran aka The Laird here, back with another video for you. And today I'm going to be looking at the new retro Bookazine. As you've probably seen, I've reviewed quite a lot of these on the channel already. So if you watch my channel, you'll probably be quite familiar with it already. But for those who don't know, the retro Bookazines are made up of the content from the retro section of GamesTM magazine. They release one, I think they release a couple a year. Don't quote me on that though. It seems like probably a couple a year. And they're pretty damn good because I buy Retro Gamer, obviously, but I don't buy GamesTM because I don't see much point in buying the magazine just for the small retro section that it has. So I love to pick these up because it's always stuff that I haven't read. And they have some great content. And the cover is quite different because usually they go for a very pictorial cover, often with an Ollie Frey drawing or something like that. And with this one, they've gone really retro because Commodore 64 owners will recognise that front cover as a Commodore 64 loading screen. Spectrum owners of back in the day like myself are probably going boo right now that the Commodore 64 got picked. But don't be too sad because turn it over and yay, we have Spectrum on the other side with the traditional crash-like logo, though you couldn't do that on a Spectrum because of the colour clash. It's a shame they didn't actually use the app that you can get to generate like Spectrum screenshots and done it properly with the colour clash. I think it would have looked much better than doing that. But still, the idea is quite nice anyway. Especially seen as no, they didn't, I suppose. It looks Commodore 64 just because the colours, I guess. But this is issue 9, celebrating 35 years of gaming history, apparently. So let's have a look what is in issue 9 exactly. This has only just come out. It's only in the shops now. So I know a couple of them in the past I've been a bit behind. I've kind of picked them up in sales and stuff. But this one is literally out now. So we're right on the button with this one. And we've got highlights. We've got Pac-Man. There's some Donkey Kong there. Metroid. Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. Myst. So Duke Nukem 64. Loads of stuff in this one. So it starts off with 30 years of Super Mario Brothers. So obviously speaks to Shigeru Miyamoto and everyone else behind the games. Timelines. This is quite a big article. Other appearances by Mario. They've got little timelines of all the games. While I've Metroid there. We've got an interview with Tom Kalinske. This is super interesting. So well worth reading. Goes right from his start at Mattel. And of course, the most infamous part of his career was as head of Sega America, and it's got great comment there straight away. Nintendo is furious with us; they threatened to sue us a bunch of times. I guess that's when they were doing the Nintendo campaign. So there's lots here about how they wooed 30-party developers and stuff. But that's I wish it was actually even longer because it's a really great interview, the Tom Kalinske one. It's almost worth buying the mag just for that. Retro guide to the Game Boy. Pretty cool if you like your Game Boy stuff. Lots of great stuff on there. Little interviews as well. Jazz Austin there, for example. About collecting for the Game Boy. And then we're into Myst. And I was a big fan of Myst back in the day. I really liked it on Jakey with CD. And me and my friend sat down with a guide. Well, we tried to complete it ourselves and then used the guide when we got stuck and finished it eventually. And 8 games that owe their existence to Myst, so it's definitely a groundbreaking game. Behind the scenes of MDK. Something a little bit more modern. While I've colonisation. Retro Guide to Imagine software, going right from the early days with Arcadia, the game that really launched them, and Ardidums and stuff like that. Obviously going through the years when they were taken over by Ocean, interviewing my good friend Jim Bagley. There, we did a lot of the Ocean Imagine stuff. Did some of it anyway. Going through all their games like Ya Kung Fu and Green Beret and Rastan and stuff like that. Look at Rogue. Big game changer, obviously. Changed the way RPGs, and even brought about the phrase that we use now of roguelike, which is still in use. What's that? Icewind. Can't say I've ever heard of that, but there's a behind the scenes on Icewind. Looks like quite a fairly modern game. And there's another interview with Jazz Austin, funnily enough, because obviously he was already featured in the magazine a little bit earlier on, and then there's a big proper interview with him as well. It's a bit strange, that, really, in a way. Shenmue, another game changer, and other games where you do mental jobs. Well, I love Tomb Raider. Bring it back. So these, I think, is franchises that they want to be resurrected. So F-Zero, Gradius, Castlevania, Bomberman, Virtua Fighter, Diddy Kong Racing. It's funny because some of these don't feel like there was a game that long ago. Certainly Virtua Fighter, Bomberman has got recent updates on Xbox Live and stuff. So Metroid, Def Jam, Jet Set Radio, Dino Crisis, Medieval, Legacy of Kain, Conquer. Conquer, is that the one that they kind of brought back with the... Or is that Banjo-Kazooie? I don't know, can't remember now. Metroid? That doesn't seem like that got a game that long ago. Is it a 3DS game? I think so. Gex, that's a strange choice. Discworld, Beyond Good and Evil. Interview with Min Lee. What did he do? Worked for Valve, I believe. So that's why I don't know him, because he seems like he did a lot of PC stuff, which I'm not really familiar with. Retro Guide to Street Fighter, going from the first game that everyone seems to forget exists. It was terrible for those who've never played it. It is really, really terrible. And for other crap game in the series, obviously Street Fighter the movie, which is also pretty terrible. And Street Fighter EX, that horrible 3D one they did. So right through to the present day. Game changers, good old Pac-Man. And 8 of the best Pac-Man spin-offs. My favourite, Pac-Man 256. Pac-Mania used to be my favourite Pac-Man game, but I think it's actually Pac-Man 256 now. I adore that. I think it's amazing. Pac-Man Championship Edition is very good as well. I've just picked up the new one on Xbox One. Very good. System Shock 2. So there is a quite mix of, you know, some real proper old retro stuff and some more modern stuff. In here, Making of Day of the Tentacle. Classic point-and-click adventure game. Behind the scenes of Duke Nukem 64. I've always liked the Saturn version of Duke Nukem myself. And Retro Guide to Star Wars, great stuff. Well, had that as a kid. Empire Strikes Back, great game. Played that more recently, Death Star Battle, and I think it's really underrated. The Atari Star Wars arcade game on C, which is probably the best Star Wars game. Actually, an interview there with Mike Halley, who's the guy who, of course, programmed the Star Wars arcade game for Atari. I think it goes right up to almost the present day. Well, it does go right up to the present day, but Star Wars Battlefront. So pretty much completely up to date there on that front. Game Changers, Crash Bandicoot. Other games are brilliant comedy. Article on Superior Software, of course, who are known for their BBC stuff. And Acorn Electron. They were their best games. I have many memories of playing a lot of their games because of my next door neighbour had a BBC when I was younger, and of course BBC's at school, and we had folders full of games, well hidden. Every now and again our computer studies teacher would find the folders of games and delete them, and we would get our discs out and just re-upload them again and try and hide them again with silly names, which is what we always did. God forbid you got caught playing games, you would get your ass kicked severely, but it was all worth it. It seemed so to us anyway. Beautiful Joe. Interview Stuart Copeland, the man behind the Spyro series. And a great retro guide to Codemasters. I've been writing about some Codemaster stuff recently for the upcoming Oliver Twins book, so watch out for that. Super Robin Hood I was writing about just yesterday. A little interview there, Richard Darling. I loved Codemasters. I loved their games. When there was a news agents where just around the corner from where I lived, where I used to buy all of my pretty much all my Spectrum budget games, because they had a little rack with them on, and my dad would go down on a Sunday and buy a newspaper, and quite often buy us a budget game with my brother. And if there was a Codemasters one there, we would always pick it up. It was always the first choice. And I had loads of these. I mean, Fruit Machine Simulator was a favourite of mine. I had Grand Prix Simulator, I had BMX Simulator. Dizzy, had Professional Ski Simulator, Jet Ski Simulator. See, all these Rock Scraper Hamster, I absolutely adored that game. Had loads of these. Fast Food was a favourite of mine. And Quick Snacks, Bubble Dizzy. Loved their games. There's loads of these games, you know, bring back great memories. Sky High Stuntman. Some on the Spectrum, and then obviously later on the ST. When I picked up an ST, I still brought Codemaster stuff because it was always good. Article on Ghostbusters 2. Funny, I was just speaking about the Oliver Twins, and there we go. There's another game by the Oliver Twins, following on nicely there. Ghostbusters 2. Animal Crossing. That's a really new game in my opinion. 2002. Oh. Seems newer than that. I guess it's because it's a franchise that's still going. They're still making lots of new ones. So certainly seems a lot newer. 20 hardware innovations that redefine gaming. I felt this is a bit of a strange article because they credit the NES as saving gaming because of its lockout chip, but it wasn't the first system to have a lockout chip. So, and first commercial console was at X81. Well, it wasn't a console, so that really shouldn't be there. The first commercial console, surely, was the Atari 2600, which came quite a few years before it. So I find that a bit bizarre. Some of the choices are really strange. The Wii certainly didn't bring in motion gaming. It was around before that. So there's lots of strange choices in there. I mean, wireless controller there. They had been around for a while before the GameCube had them. So it's definitely a very strange article. It doesn't really work that well, and there's quite a few errors in it. But there we go. It doesn't spoil what it's already a pretty grand book. I mean, there's a bit in there for everybody, as you see. There's a real mix of stuff, you know, really old stuff right through to sort of more modern stuff in the GameCube and Xbox and things like that. So yeah, well worth picking up. It's a tenner. I'll put a link in the comments, as I always do, of where you can buy it online. But you should be able to find it in places like WH Smith's, Tesco's, Asda, etc., etc. And yeah, it's well worth picking up. So I suggest, if you're like me and you read retro gaming but you don't buy GamesTM, you go and grab yourself a copy of this, because there's lots and lots of great stuff in there to read. I hope you enjoyed my little look at issue 9 or volume 9 of Retro, and I'll see you all again for another video very soon. Bye bye.